Hey all, Mitchell here with the Eorzean Archives. I'm unsure if this video will be for posterity, or mostly a vehicle for all my friends and guildies to make fun of me post-Endwalker, but I'm going to take a chance here and pose many of my theories and ideas about how things may play out in the forthcoming expansion. I make no promises for accuracy, but my hope here is that all of these theories will at least seem somewhat convincing or plausible, and be grounds for a discussion. Though a few may be far out there, and on a side note, I don't read Reddit, so if anything I say is a no duh or commonly held anyways, I kind of apologize in advance for that. Without further ado, let's begin. Number 1. Silvertear houses the heart of Hydaelyn. This idea has been banging around in my head for a while, as far back as probably the first time I saw the trailer for 1.0. Why is it that in the Battle of Silvertear Skies, Midgardsummer would bother not only to show up, but to sacrifice himself, intentionally or not, in order to protect what is basically a pretty lake? Now, during the Omega trial, we would find out that when Midgardsummer came to Hydaelyn the planet from the Dragon Star, he made a pact with Hydaelyn the entity to protect Silvertear Lake. Not the planet, not Eorzea, the lake. It seems like an oddly specific thing for Hydaelyn to request from one of the most powerful entities on the planet. Couple this with the strange appearance of Hydaelyn in what appears to be the guise of the Knot at the end of 5.55, literally by the shores of Silvertear Lake, and the canonical fact that the deeper underground you go, the more the line between the ethereal sea and the physical world blurs. All of that, and with the coup de grace being that Hydaelyn exists within the ethereal sea, and well, this one seems somewhat of a given, but who knows? Number 2. Zodiac is under the surface of the moon. Okay, so technically, this one is all but confirmed. Through in-game dialogue, Encyclopedia Eorzea, and hell, even interviews. But bear with me. We know that the Ascians have seemed to reside in two places. Between the realms / the void, it gets kind of confusing, and on the moon. We also know that we're going to the moon, and that Zodiac is almost certainly on the source. With all this in mind, there are two possibilities. One is that an actual sleeping, physical form exists under the moon, or in my mind, the more likely case that the moon has its own version of the ethereal sea, like Hydaelyn. Much like we see the dark, for lack of a better term, father crystal in one of our visions early on, I think some point in ARR. It would also tie in with the fact that we see repeatedly Elidibus show up on the moon, which at first was kind of just a general Ascians in the moon, but also the fact that he is the heart of Zodiac now makes it far more of a specific tie. Number 3. The Laperates are the fault of Allag. Speaking of the moon, not to get all the moon is made of cheese conspiracy theory on you, but I'm pretty sure that somehow the Laperates on the moon are due to the Alligans? In one of the trailer shots on Mare Lamentorum, we see what looks like a crashed ship made of Allagan technology. The Alligans had the ability to put a moon in the sky and were responsible for creating at least one other beast tribe, so it's not crazy to think that, much like real life, they shot animals up into space, maybe for a test, maybe... who knows, but I think this is going to be an allusion to that. Number 4. The Dreamer is Azjaha or Vritra. Until Endwalker, there was a constant mystery around the two missing of the First Brood, Azjaha and Vritra. With the arrival of the Endwalker trailer, we are down to just one. We don't actually know how Vritra will play into the story, with the fact we only see him during the events of Thavnair and when Voidsent begin to flood the realm. Assuming the attack on Garlemald is actually closer to the midpoint of the story, and Thavnair actually takes place after that, which, big assumption, but bear with me. My guess is that at some point he was captured by the Garleans, and his eyes will be used to power something immense, and we'll end up freeing him on our assault on Garlemald. That, or Azjaha's eyes will be used to power whatever it is Xenos and Fandaniel are up to. Most likely, the Gate of the Gods. Which leads me to... Number 5. The purpose of the Gate of the Gods. In one of the final scenes for 5.55, Fandaniel makes reference to the Gateway of the Gods. His statement seems to imply that the structure is complete, but lacks the proper amount of aether. It is a fact that the veil between the void and even between other shards can actually be torn open under certain circumstances, but the amount of aether required is enormous. I mean, you see that in examples like with the Crystal Tower and how the amount of work that Grahatia had to do in order just to bring you into the First. Knowing that, it seems most likely that the Gate of the Gods is actually a way to open a pathway between the shards. This also could mean that in the end, it may end up being a gateway that will allow us to go to the Void and or the other shards more regularly, or other people to come in, assuming that that's how they bring the Voidsent into the source. That could be useful for future expansions, but more on that in another video. Number 6. Xenos will fuse with Zodiac. Xenos and his resonant from the get-go have been shown off not only to be capable of controlling primals, and specifically ones of extreme power, but the desire to do so as well. I mean, just look at what happens with Shinryu during the events of Stormblood. His ultimate goal is to have one final clash with us of the highest order, and what could be more appropriate than fusing with Zodiac as he did with Shinryu, and forcing us in some way to take on Hydaelyn's power. To further this, in one of his first appearances, Fandaniel mentions Xenos as true prey, and it's not us, it's Zodiac. Historically, the exclusive point of prey in Xenos' mind has seemed to be a worthy opponent, / having something to push him to go on or get stronger. Now, how fusing will actually take place is uncertain, be it simply him taking over Zodiac much like he did Shinryu, or becoming his heart. Although it's not clear if Zodiac has a heart now that we've defeated Elidibus, or if the Elidibus we fought is just the manifestation of the heart's primal of himself. Final Fantasy XIV is weird, y'all. Number 7. Labyrinthos is a doomsday bunker. Fortunel's line in the Endwalker trailer about Charlene keeping its own counsel, and come what may, we shall live on, we must. And the very Charlene pacifist mentality clearly shows a deep-seated focus not on saving the world, only the knowledge that Charlene has gained. Take that, and then look at Labyrinthos. It's Charlene architecture mixed with a very steampunk aesthetic. That makes me think that Labyrinthos is actually a Charlene doomsday bunker to ride out the world's end. The fact that the name is Greek and a reference to an ancient Greek story, and that Charlene's entire aesthetic and basis is on ancient Greece, only helps to fuel that fire. One problem is that the aetheryte we see in Labyrinthos is not a Charlene aetheryte. You can tell because it's a regular one, not the little swirl spiral one, Nautilus shell, I think. However, the video we get was an early development, and so it's very possible that it actually was just meant to be a placeholder, or was meant to make sure that we didn't guess. The question remains though, when we meet Fortunel, he seems to claim that the final days are not a thing, and that they're not worried about it. So either they changed their opinion very fast and managed to construct this doomsday bunker very quickly, a lot of time actually passes at some point in Endwalker for them to do that, or Labyrinthos has actually been around longer than we might think. Who knows? Number 8. Alfino joins the Forum. So, speaking of Charlene, I believe our little boy is about to grow up. I think by the end of Endwalker, he'll join the Forum in his father's place. Alfino and his skills have always been based in diplomacy and having an extreme intellect. He also carries on the legacy of his grandfather, and that would be a perfect candidate to end Charlene's isolationism, or at least the negative part of it. He both has the worldly experience of all he has seen and done with us, and the ideals of someone who wants the world to be better and believes it can be. Add that to the new Charlene's sage job change, and I think our boy may be only a sign for so much longer. There's also the reference to Eorzean growth at adulthood, so it's possible we also might get a literal model change for him, and even Alice sometime in the near future. All stories must come to an end, and so must this video. With Endwalker only a few short months away, I cannot begin to express my excitement. However, many of these ideas may be wrong, and even if they're right, I hope that it's provoked some thought, even if it's vehement disagreement. And with that, I'll be catching you in Hydaelyn. See you guys around. If you like this video, please like and subscribe, it really helps us out. If you're into lore, check out our main channel, the Eorzean Archives.